So now you're going to have to speak to your partner. Are you ready? Okay guys, welcome back to English class. In today's video we're going to be looking at parts 3 and 4 of the first certificate speaking. In this part 3 of the speaking test, this is when you are presented with a question and 5 related words. Pretty much you have the main body, which is the question, and 5 points going around it. Before you start talking about the main question and the points, you have 15 seconds to look at the question and the points. Then the examiner would ask you to start talking, and here you have to talk to your partner for about 2 minutes about the different points. It's very important to note that you don't have to talk about all 5 of the points. You should only look to talk about at least 3. And if you talk about 3 in a more detailed way, it's much better than talking about all 5 of them in a very superficial way. After the 2 minutes, you will then have 1 minute with your partner to decide which point is the most or is the least. It would be something like this. It would be a superlative, such as the most important or the least effective, etc., etc. Before, it used to be choose which one you think is the most important from the start, and it was very messy because students would start talking about the one they thought was most important at the start. Now this is a very schoolboy error. Try not to do that. The first 2 minutes is just a general or very good discussion about the points. Then you choose one you think is the most or the best, etc. It doesn't matter if you disagree on points. If you disagree, not a problem. But please say why you disagree and try not to take up the whole time. It's probably good to say maybe 2 sentences or 3 sentences and then pass the ball to your partner. Now don't worry, we're going to look at some useful phrases you can use in this part of the exam. So you've just been presented with the 5 keywords or topics related to the question. Here you have 15 seconds, remember, to look at them. Then you could start by saying something like, so shall we start with, and then you choose a point. Imagine you chose pollution. So, shall we start with pollution? Now we want to give our point of view. Here we could say something like, I believe that, or I reckon, because guys, we want to really use other words than I think. It's so easy and it's so difficult sometimes to use other words than I think, I think, I think. So, I believe, I reckon, or I would say that, or from my point of view. Then it's very important you include your partner. So after you've given your point of view, here you could say something like, what are your thoughts? What do you think? Do you agree? And then in response you could say something like, I couldn't agree more. Okay, so that's if you see eye to eye with your partner, you're agreeing. If you don't agree but you don't disagree, you could say, I see where you're coming from, but, and then you could give your point of view. And if you really don't agree, you could say something like, we don't see eye to eye here. Okay, so your 2 minutes is up. You've talked about some points, at least 3 points, remember, of the task. Now you have 1 minute with your partner to decide which one is the best, the worst, the least, etc. So here you could start by saying something like, okay, let's get down to business. Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. And then your partner might say something like, well, I believe that public transport is the etc, etc. But maybe you're not completely sure. Maybe you've got 2 points that you are not really sure about, which one is more important or least important. So you could say something like, I am on the fence. I'm on the fence about pollution and world hunger. So again guys, if you disagree, it's not a problem. You could choose one that you think is the most important, etc. But then you could say, okay, well, let's agree to disagree. And then guys, that is pretty much it for part 3. Just make sure that you come to some agreement or disagreement about a specific point, and then you move on to part 4. But let's have a look at an example of part 3. If you like, you could practice with this question right now of part 3. And of course, use the key vocabulary to the right of the photo and use the structure given. Now guys, we're moving on to part 4. This is the final part of the exam. You've done so well to come this far. Now this part lasts for about 4 minutes, so probably 2 minutes for your partner, 2 minutes for you. But it's kind of like a three-way discussion. You talk with both the examiner and your candidate. The questions that will be asked to you are going to be based on part 3, but they're going to be a bit more general. So here you don't have to worry about any specialized topic or theme. The important thing here is to give your opinion and give your reason for your opinions. So, for example, you could give your opinion now with some of these practice topics on the left-hand side of the photo, using some key vocabulary on the right. Have a go now. Now remember, this is just a conversation between the three of you. So here you want to kind of maintain eye contact. If you're talking to the examiner, look at him or her in the eye, and if you're talking to your partner, do the same. It's also advisable that you interact and you ask for your partner's opinion. So here again, we could say something like, "What are your thoughts?" or "What do you believe?" So he or she would do the exact same with you. What do you think? What do you believe? Okay guys, so that's pretty much it for part 3 and 4 of the first certificate speaking. You can leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.